Hi, this is Trinesha, and today I wanted to talk about in the meantime. So, I know you're probably thinking, I know I start this off like this all the time. I feel like this is like my whole thing now. I just say, I know you're probably thinking, and you're like, okay, the video is about to start. But what made me want to do this video called In the Meantime is I had a lot of changes happen in my life this past week or so. And to say that, it's insignificant just because I'm Christian is just not not realistic at all. Like, I think for some people it's easy to just say a cliche or to just pretend as if Christians don't have feelings because we have faith, but you fail to realize that we're human just like every other person. That just like you emote, I emote as well. Just like you have things that make you feel a certain type of way, you know, everyone has that. So for me, I have just been so tested this week. And I know you're probably thinking it can't be that bad. Listen, I think I handled it the best that I could at the position in my life that I'm in. I don't think that I did anything, over the top wrong. The situation from yesterday worked out completely fine, as far as I know. And, everything's been okay for the most part. I had other things happen in my life that seem like they're working out okay. And it's weird because I have this sense of, so it's weird when you know what your purpose is, but you just don't know how that purpose is going to help you, how it's going to support itself. So for me, like I'm in that weird in between stage. So when I was first stepping into my purpose, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was just like, I knew that everything was going to be fine. I knew that I just needed to focus on God and just keep being faithful, and everything was going to work out. And I, before I found out what my purpose was, I had no idea why I was here. I had no idea what I was doing. I just felt this kind of sense of not knowing, this kind of sense of just being in between, just feeling like, I don't know if this makes any sense to anybody, but I kind of had this feeling of I existed, but I was just floating in the middle of nowhere. Like it was just pretty much nothing around me. Like it's just me with endless possibilities and no sense of direction. No, like I had no idea if I was going north, south, east, west. I had no idea what I was doing, what position I was in, where I was headed, the type of things I was going to do in life. I had no idea what I was going to do at all. And today I had like a little sense of that. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. But this time, God is with me. God was with me the whole time. But this time, I'm dedicated to God and I'm focused on God. So it's not just like I'm doing this by myself. Like, I know God is there with me. And because I know God, it does give me some hope. And also, me being human is so like, I'm gonna say this. I know I'm gonna be judged, and people are probably gonna say you're not as faithful as you think you are if you have fear sometimes. Listen, I'm really working on not being afraid of anything. I'm really trying hard. And I just have these moments where it's just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not, it's not a fear of like, I don't think God can work it out. It's not a fear of like, I don't think God is who he says he is. It's not a fear of, you know, everything's going to work out the way that God intended anyway. So it's not one of those fears where I feel afraid that I'm going to miss out on something or whatever else. It's just this weird in between stage where I just don't like before when I was first becoming single and when I first, rededicated my life to God, I really had this focus. I kind of had this knowing about everything that was going to happen. I had prayed to God. I had said, God, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this. I don't know what direction I need to head. I don't know what I need to do, but I know that I can't do this anymore. Like I might have felt like I deserved to just be miserable for the rest of my life. I really felt like this is just what life was, because people would make relationships seem so miserable. So I just felt like this was normal. Like everybody feels miserable in their relationship. Everybody is not treated to the best of their ability. Everybody has to deal with some sort of crap, during their entire life. Like, peace is not something that really exists. I didn't really think that that was a realistic idea of what it was that I could have in my life. But I knew, like, in that moment before I was like really deciding, like, hey, I can't do this anymore. That I just, I didn't know that I deserved better, but I knew that I didn't want to deal with that anymore. Like, I knew that I just, I knew that wasn't it. Or whatever it was going to be, I just knew that wasn't it. And the more time I spent with God, the more time I spent working on myself, the more I felt like I deserved more. The more I felt like I want to be treated better. The more I felt like more respect for myself. I felt more like, okay, this might not be working out the way that I wanted to. This might not, I don't ever expect someone to be perfect and just do everything exactly the way like I imagine it in my head. I know that's not how life works. I just knew that I did not want to be treated as an afterthought. The type of relationship that I hope for in the future. I know I keep talking about this all the time, but listen, I'm talking this into existence. That's just what we're doing right now. And so, in the future, I don't know if this is realistic, but this is like in my head what I'm picturing. And maybe not fully this way, because I want somebody to be focused on whatever it is that God has for them to do, not just me. But I would love to have the opportunity before I pass away to be with someone who is interested in me as much as I was interested in those other people in the past who didn't deserve that much attention, who never deserved to be in a relationship with me in the first place, who never deserved any of my time or energy, but they got it because it was before I was working on myself, before I really knew like what self-love really was, before I really started loving myself, before I really started doing self-care and little things that made me feel more like I appreciate who I am. And I've had like some friends that were guys who have done this before, who, they seem like they were into whatever it was that I was doing or into whatever it was that I was saying, like they were really interested in the things that I did or said or whatever else. And they really seemed like they really cared, you know. And most of the men guys that I was in a relationship with just kind of seemed like they deigned to be there. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, we're together. Okay, whatever. Like, it just, and now that I'm focused on God, I don't know. Like, sometimes I feel hopeful, like, okay, like, I know God is going to work everything out. I know everything is going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. I know the things that God removed from my life, the men who encountered in the past, like 2 or 3 years, whatever else. If it was supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen, or whenever it's supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen, whatever else. I understand all of that. It's just like some things don't make any sense to me, but they'll never make sense to me. There was this pastor once who said something like, he had something happen to him and he just couldn't fathom why this thing happened in his life. And it was something about like a friendship or something else. And he said he kept on asking God over and over again for an answer for why this had to happen to them. Why did this person have to treat him this way? Why did this person not appreciate the time that he got to spend with them or the things that he did for this person? Why did this person treat him the way that this person did? And he said he's been asking God for an answer and asking God for an answer in the past before, he really started focusing on his religion and his relationship with God and everything else. And God told him one day, And I felt this in my soul. He said, I haven't given you an answer because no answer would ever feel like it's good enough. No answer would ever be enough. Because in your mind, you can't understand why this would happen. Even if I said this person was doing this, and this person went through this, and this person, it would be like, okay, they went through this, but they know who I am. Like, there would always be a counter answer for every single answer that I would give you. Nothing that I could ever say would ever justify why your friend treated you that way. There's nothing that I could do, nothing that I could show you, nothing that would get, like, me answering your question would not give you the peace that you're seeking. And when God said that, I really felt it in my soul. I really felt it, like some of the things that I had questions about, that I was wondering about. And God was like, there's no answer that I could give you that would ever be good enough, because you would make an excuse of why this would work. Even when you have a solution, even when you figure out some things, even when you know, and nothing that I could ever tell you would ever make you feel like this is why, you know. And even when you understand, it's still gonna be that thing. Like, I have this thing that just keeps popping up in my mind, and it just doesn't make any sense why. You know, I just can't understand. But when I heard that sermon, I knew I will never get an answer for that. That's one of those things that no matter what God says, it's not going to bring me contentment. It's not going to make me think about why this didn't work out, or that didn't work out, or why I'm not with this person or that person in this place or that place, or with this thing or that thing. Like, there's nothing, no answer that God could give me until it happens, until until the life keeps evolving, until things keep happening. That will be the only thing that will show me. And if you're like me, waiting on something that seems impossible to happen just kind of feels like, I don't know. It's not that I don't have hope in God. It's just when it comes to me knowing my track record, it's just kind of like it seems impossible for me. It doesn't seem impossible for God. I'm just like, if God does bless me with this or that or whatever else, how am I not going to screw this up? You know, how am I actually going to be able to have these things in my life? And it's so weird because I was talking to this person today, and I was telling them about the week, and I was just like, it just has been one of those weeks. Like, I've been completely blessed. I've been completely, I've had attack after attack after attack after attack after attack after attack. Like, so many things have been coming at me at one time, all at once. Like, one thing is like, okay. Two things, okay. 10 things, oh, okay. Oh, okay. 20, 30, it's like, oh, oh, give me a second to catch my breath. Hold on a second before the next attack comes. Just give me a second. Let me compose myself. But this is why we have to stay in our scripture, and we have to stay prayed up and keep a close relationship with God, because you can call on him anytime, tag him in so he can help you. Seriously. And you don't have to do this alone. And sometimes I forget that. Sometimes I feel like this is all on me. I really got to figure out all of these things. I don't have to figure out anything. The only thing I have to do is be obedient and seek God. Just be a better person, and God will use me. He will open doors. He will do whatever it is that he needs to do to make sure that I'm wherever it is that I need to be. And it's just, Mm. In my mind, like when I'm focusing, when I'm doing the things that I need to do, it's just I keep feeling these attacks. I keep feeling these thoughts in my mind, and I jump into something else. I'll get the hang of it, and I'll start thinking of something positive. Like there's this mind thing that you do where you just, as soon as something negative pops into your mind, you think of something else because you have the power to change your thoughts. You just forget because you're so used to, speaking negatively. You're so used to all of the cynicism or all of the things that you used to do. So rewiring your brain to think positively is kind of hard, you know. So you really have to be intentional about your focus, about what you're telling yourself. And as I was going through all these attacks during the week, I talked to this person and they said something that I think a lot of Christian people should hear, and people who are thinking about becoming Christian or, growing a closer relationship with God. The closer you get to God, the more the attacks. The attacks aren't just for no reason. You think Satan would be attacking you if you didn't have that oil on you? Like, if you really didn't have any type of purpose, if you really weren't trying to be a better person, if you really weren't seeking God's face, if you really weren't building that relationship with God, right now I'm in fasting season. And this fasting, the adversary, I don't know what is going to come out of this Lent season. I don't know what God is about to do in my life, but whatever it is has the adversary terrified. I know it sounds so strange for somebody to say that, but that is the only thing that makes sense. Do you think someone would come at you to try to stop you from doing something if they didn't feel threatened by you? Exactly. I really feel like whatever it is that God is about to do in my life, I need to be tested. God needs to make sure that he can trust me, because if he can't trust me here to be rule over a few things, there's no way he could bless me of more. There's absolutely no way. If he knows he can't trust me with these a few things that he's given me here and there, or a few things that I've been through, he knows that if he brings me up to another level and more attacks come, because the higher you get, the more attacks you have to face, the more things you have to go through. It's not just like you go to another level and it's easy peasy, easy street. It's like you go to another level and the attacks get stronger. You get stronger, but so do the attacks. The tests get a little more, they get a little harder. Like you're thinking, oh, okay, this is easy. This is an easy test, or this is like, a medium test or whatever. And then this is the hard test. Like every level you go up, the test gets harder and harder. The attacks from the enemy get stronger and stronger. He hates to see your faith strong. Whatever it is that you're doing, the adversary just really doesn't like for you and God to be like this. Every time, I have to say this, but every single time I hear God's voice so clearly, I'm in my Bible every day. I'm reading. I am listening to God. I'm being obedient. I'm serving. I'm doing all of the things that God intends me to do. Someone says something to me, it doesn't even matter because I know God's going to take care of it. Someone does something to me, I stand up for myself, but I don't even let it affect my heart, my mind, my body, nothing. I just keep on moving. When the adversary sees me in a position like that, that next day, that next week, I get one of the strongest attacks ever. And it's like little things at first. Like it might be someone, just trying to pick with me. It might be someone, from the past. It might be a new person. It might be a job. It might be a house, a car. It could be anything. Little things will happen here and there. And it's like, okay, I can handle this. I can handle that. I can handle this. This person from the past, no, it's not going to work out. Keep on moving. New person, oh no, it's not going to work out. Keep on moving. After all of these tests, after all of these spiritual warfare, like things that happen, psychological, whatever you want to call it. The adversary, I don't know if this happens to a lot of people or if it's just me because I'm super spiritual and I really feel all the feelings. Like I get so emotionally connected to people. It's ridiculous. Like I have a wall up and I don't like being vulnerable, but I feel all the feelings. Like I feel for people for real. Like if I see somebody hurting, it does make me feel some type of way. I'm like, oh, like I don't want to see people sad or upset. I don't want to see, someone is like going through something. I feel like I have to help them. Like I want to help and I don't mean people that are just playing games and stuff like that. I mean genuinely, like I look to see what's happening. I'm literally looking in people's eyes. I'm really having conversations with people. I'm really genuinely asking people how they feel, not just how they're doing. I'm really being intentional about what it is that I'm doing, how I'm serving, everything else. So for me, because the adversary knows I'm smarter than some of the attacks that he sends my way, what he'll do is when I'm sleeping, when I get super tired and exhausted, it could be real late at night, real early in the morning, I will be so tired and I'll have like the weirdest dream, like something that's tempting or whatever else. Or I'll have a dream where someone that I care about doesn't care about me and it'll like literally break my heart. And or somebody that I like doesn't like me and it'll make me feel some type of way. And while I'm in my feelings, it's like I wake up right out my dream, right when I feel that sense of insecurity, right when I feel that sense of not being enough or like I'm missing out on something. As soon as I feel something like that, I guess that gives the adversary a foothold in my faith because why would I ever feel unworthy when God created me worthy? Why would I ever need affirmation from anybody else but God? Like, of course, it's good to hear, words of affirmation from other people, but I don't need it to survive. I need God to survive. You know what I'm saying? And so every time the adversary has a foothold, that dream kind of gives him a foothold. And as I turn over and I wake up from my dream kind of in the middle of the night, early, I don't know if it's like real super late or early in the morning, but it's like pitch black. So I know it's like real late. And so I'll be sleeping and my flesh, mm, 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 mm. I know I say this and some people are like, yeah, right. No, let me tell you, my flesh feels like it's on fire. It feels so extremely weak. Like when I say extremely weak, like you would think I haven't prayed, ever went to church, like, like, oh my gosh, like I, I don't, my whole life, I don't remember feeling like that ever, at all. And so it's like that's the moment where he's like, okay, like I got her now. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like every time he gets threatened. And I could tell when I'm on to something, when God's on to something, when he's getting ready to do something in my life, because I'll be super exhausted. It's either I have trouble sleeping for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's not that I'm worried about anything. I know God's taking care of everything. It's just like either I have a bunch of ideas in my head that I don't want to lose, or the adversary places this person on my mind. And what I used to do, which I might start doing again, is I would just pray for the person and be like, God, cover this person, put a hedge of protection around them, just allow them to find the peace and the joy that you've given me. And I just pray that whatever happens in their life happens at the appointed time that you have for them. And that no matter what happens, like no matter what trials, tribulations, what they're going through, they stay focused on you and their relationship with you gets closer. They don't pull away from you because of the tough times. They draw closer to you. And so I'll say something like that. And sorry, I thought I saw something, but it was just my strap on my bag had just fell over. I was like, okay. like you saw my reaction. I was like, and then I was like, oh, okay. like I was like, I don't know about that, but it's funny. I had this little quick story, and then I'll get back to this. But I I was there. I was with some family members and stuff today, and we're all talking and stuff. And one of the people get ready to leave, and they couldn't close the door, so I was trying to help them close the door, but they didn't know I was behind the door. So they go to push the door open to pull it back to close it, and I'm pulling the door the other way to lock the other door. And they're like, and then the one person jumps and the person beside them jumps, and both of them are getting ready to just run, like dip. And I'm just, all of us are busting out laughing. But it was so hilarious. I was just like, oh. But when that strap fell, it made me think about that. I was like, okay. I mean, there's a, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of here, but but we're gonna make a way. Even if it's like a cartoon, you're gonna see an outline of me going through the thing. Like, I'm gonna make it out of here. But yeah, that's what it made me think about. But I really truly do feel like there's something that God placed on the inside of me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that God's about to do next. Like, we all don't know what's going to happen next. And we could try to figure out our life and create a plan and all these other things, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I think this is what my plan is of what I want to do." And God's like, "That's not what I told you to do." God literally has been telling me to do this thing in my life for the past 2 months. He said, I need you to go to this place. And I'm like, is this God, or is it just because I want to go here? Because this is where I want to go. But the funny thing is, I had this pastor in the past that would say things like, sometimes we feel like when God asks us to do things, he asked us to do. Why am I saying it in a weird way like that? But anyways, he will ask us to do things like that we really don't want to do, or something that's like trying, or something that like we really just don't want to do that thing. We don't want to go to that place. We don't want to be over here in this area or whatever else. And he's like, we forget that God is on our side. Sometimes he will tell us to do things that we actually want to do as well. And for me, this is where my weakness is when it comes to, I don't want to say my faith, but hearing God in areas like this. Like when it comes to doing something different, something uncomfortable, something that I know that I wouldn't normally do, it's like, oh, okay. I would never, I would not at all say that I want to do this, or that I would like to do this. This is obviously God, because there's no way I would want to be at this place right now with this ex or this guy that I, was so into. Like, why would I ever want to put myself in a situation where I would be in close proximity to this person? And God intentionally allowed me to oversleep so I didn't have to go there. So I guess it was just a test of faith to see if, even though I was going to be uncomfortable, I would still be willing to go there to help somebody else. And so I was like, thank you, God, for not making me really have to go there, because I know, like, I want to be obedient and everything else. I just don't think I would have been strong enough to be there while that person was there, if that makes any sense. And so, mm-mm-mm. So when God will say something like, oh, yeah, I need you to do this, like, this is what I want you to do right now. And I'm like, I want to do that. And I'm like, is it just because I want to do this that I'm feeling this way, or is this really what God would like for me to do? And so God told me in the beginning when I had first met one of my friends, and this potential person, and he's just like, listen, this is what I have for you. He kind of showed me some different things, and he, like, not the whole picture, but enough to make me be like, oh, okay. And he's like, if you do this, then this and this and this person will be a part of your life. And I'm like, okay. And, me just being a woman, I'm just like, oh, this person is going to be with me. God didn't say that. But, whatever that means. And it'll be beneficial for you and that person. So I was thinking, like, oh, yeah, we're going to be together. I feel like even me saying it out loud is so embarrassing. But anyways, it's old. It doesn't matter. It's so in the past, so it won't matter. But yeah, in my head, that's what I'm thinking. But honestly, it could have been anything. It could have been business. It could have been they could have just been some random person who could have been a friend. I don't know. But yeah, needless to say, I did not do those things because I immediately expected God meant I was going to be with this person and I wasn't ready to be in a relationship. And so I wasn't trying to tell God that I knew better than God, but I was so like terrified of ever being with anybody. I was just like, I'm a sabotage this whole thing. And God's like, oh, you're going to sabotage it. And I ended up actually liking this person. And I was like, I should have listened to God because if this was a person I was supposed to be with, I didn't ruin that, you know? But yeah, it's just, oof, definitely got to listen to God. Even if it's something that you want. Sometimes sometimes God wants you to be happy all the time. Sometimes it'll be some things that God wants you to do because he wants you to be uncomfortable because he can't grow you in comfortability. He can only grow you when you're uncomfortable. That's going to be the area that allows you to become more. You can't become more in a comfort zone and in comfortability. You can only become more when you're willing to grow, evolve, and learn. And for me, I just I really was feeling like, okay, God, you know, most of the time I try to stay focused on God. I stay focused on God most of the time. Sometimes the adversary will place this person in my head and just try to get me distracted so I can focus on that person and like neglect my business and neglect all of the things that I need to do. And sometimes it works, just being honest. And most of the time, I stay focused on God. Most of the time, I will pray for the person. I will, just hope that they do better and everything else. And even though it's hard to let go sometimes, it's necessary. God can't give you something new if you're holding on to something old. He'll never be able to do that. And the sad thing is, in the past, most of the people that I was with were never into me in that way. I mean, they were into me. Let me not put it that way. They were into me into wanting to be in a relationship with it, but they weren't into me like I was into them. Mm. When I say most people, I don't mean like there was like 20 different people. I mean for the serious relationships, there was probably like three, and those three guys. So because of I just want to clarify the story because I don't want you to be like every single person. Like, no, listen, there was only like probably three serious relationships. And the three serious relationships, none of those guys they were with me, they liked me, but they weren't into me like I wanted them to be into me. Like I would have liked for them to really be into me. And they were kind of just like, oh, okay. You know, like, yeah, we're cool. Yeah. I mean, not they never said we're cool, but the attitude or the action that they gave off is like, yeah, we're cool. We're together. It's cool. Whatever else, like it ain't no thing but a chicken wing. Like they just kind of had like this laxical attitude about it, like lackadaisy. They just really were just kind of like not intentional at all. They like did stuff, but it wasn't like, and I'm not trying to be unappreciative or make it seem like, I was real young when I was in most of these relationships. So don't take that as like, oh man, it just, oof. When it comes to men, I just really need God to be in control of that whole situation because I'm a hot mess when it comes to men. Let's just put it that way. I am not no longer a hot mess when it comes to men because God is in control of the situation. Let me change that because I don't want the adversary to be like, huh? What'd you say? Oh, okay. In walks three other guys. I only tell the story like that if you know from the past videos, and you know if you don't, then don't worry about it. Just go with it. But yeah, the adversary will be like, huh? What? Oh, insert guy 3, 4, and 5. Oh, okay. Insert 23, 26, 29, 26, 32, 26, or whatever. Like, mm-mm-mm. No. But seriously, that's how it works. He'll be like, oh, okay, you think you're not ready? Okay, I'm gonna send you a couple people that are gonna make you prematurely ready in the wrong season when you're supposed to be focused on something totally different. And these guys are going to distract you so much that it's going to keep you in the same level that you should have been off of in 3 months. You're going to spend 3 years on the same level because, in the past, you had a weakness when it came to guys for some reason, you know, or whatever else it is. Whatever your weakness is what I'm saying the adversary is going to use to try to distract you, to wear you down, like the pastor says. Because the pastor would say, if the adversary can wear you down, then he won't have to steal, kill, and destroy the purpose that God placed on you. And it's true because, like I said, when I'm exhausted from just everything happening, from, trying to do it all, from from just life in general, or, I just can't sleep for whatever reason just because I have so many things that I would love to do, and it just feels like there's not enough time for everything. Like, I feel like I'm gonna try so hard not to cry in this moment, but why did I make that face though? But I just feel like I wasted so much time as if I had like forever, Spend so much time with the wrong person. I spent so much time doing all the wrong things. And I'll never be able to get back that time, you know? And it just, the thing that makes me think of, like, sometimes I have like this thought cross my mind is like, I wasted so much time with the wrong person. The right person probably was right there, you know, or I wasted so much time at this place or doing this thing that literally brought me no joy when I could have been doing something that makes me happy a long time ago. I spent so much time being so sad. I literally, if you don't know the story, when I was in my past relationship, I would cry myself to sleep. I would literally cry every single night, every night. And I just really felt like that's just how it was. Like there was no such thing as happiness or joy or feeling peace or, really being appreciated or valued or honored or respected the way that you should be respected. I really just felt like this was life, you know? And when I say this, I have to say a disclaimer because I don't want people to just think, oh, woe is me. Oh, poor, Trinesha. Please don't feel that way. I voluntarily decided to walk into the lion's den. I voluntarily decided to stay in this relationship. I voluntarily decided that this is just what life was for me. And that like until I rededicated my life to God and I really learned who God really truly is and what his love really truly feels like, I had no idea that I could feel this sense of peace in my life ever. I never knew I could feel as secure as I do being with God than I could in any relationship I could ever go in my entire life. I never knew that I would want to have faith or hope for anything. I just thought that was crazy to even think that something good was possible in my life, you know? And it's so crazy. So crazy. I'm really crying a lot. Like, let me tell you. It just has been one of those things. It really has been. I mean, I would like to pretend like I just been on it. I've been so good. And when I say it, I don't mean that I've been slacking or anything like that. I ate some bad food today, but I am still fasting from the thing that I gave up. I didn't just, cave in on any of that or anything else. And I still have a good, like, 11 days or something like that for me to do this part of it. And then the last 21 days, I'm doing something else. And so I just, oof, I really, mm, with all of the attacks, it has got me feeling some type of way. I'm not even gonna sit here and try to pretend like I'm about to lie. Like, I really, I know, like, God keeps saying you're stronger than this. And sometimes I really don't feel it. If I'm just being honest, sometimes I really feel like I don't know where this strength is gonna come from. And then I remember it comes from God. Obviously, like, when I'm weak, He's my strength. I just, when I look around at the things in my life, I can look at it from two perspectives. I can look at it from a lacking perspective or a plentiful perspective. So I could look at it like this is how most of us think. This is the only reason I'm doing this. I'm not saying this in real life, but and most of the time when we look at it from a negative, lacking perspective, it's oh, I'm single. I have to be by myself. I don't have this thing in my life. I don't have, I want to be in such and such position. I'm wearing this outfit, but I don't get to dress like such and such. Like all of these comparison things, all of these things that we're saying that we think we don't have, that we don't even need, instead of thinking the right person is on the way. The moment that you ask God for it, if God has told you that you're going to be the type of person that's in a relationship, God already has that person coming to you. He's just preparing you and that person for it. You don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to happen at an appointed time, which I like to call the right time. Because we all know if it was at my time, it would be a hot mess. It would be horrible. And so obviously it needs to be on God's time because I am not trying to have to deal with that mess, that I voluntarily put myself in that situation. I'm trying to let God take the lead. You know what I'm saying? And so, so instead of thinking of it like that, and then thinking, I have clothes on my back. Some people don't have any clothes. They have clothes, but you know what I mean. I get to wear these clothes. I get to be clothed instead of thinking about the things that you want. Look at all the things that you already got. Did you forget about all those things? Get up, get from out of your house and have to pack up and move somewhere. Let's see how many things you got. I know those are all material objects, but seriously, we sometimes like to look at things from a perspective of we are missing out on so many things where there's something that we just don't have, woe is me attitude, instead of thinking of how blessed you really are. Think about Instead of thinking that I have to work at this job, thinking you get to work at this job. Some people can't work. Some people have a trouble finding a job. Some people don't have a job, but you have one. And instead of saying you get to work there, you get to go to work, you get to do these things, God blessed you to be able to provide for your family in one way or another. You start thinking about, oh, I have to do this, like being so ungrateful. Instead of thinking, thank God he didn't just give me anybody to be with. I had to laugh at that because seriously, I've God then pushed a couple people out the way, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. And I don't mean it like I'm trying to reflect badly on them and say like they're a bad person. They're just not the person for me at all. And we just would not be a good fit. It just wouldn't work out at all. And some other woman is going to be super happy with that person. It just won't be me, you know? And instead of me feeling like, oh, I missed out on such a great guy, I missed out on this person, I missed out on this opportunity, you should be thanking God because you don't know what type of HE double, you know what's that you could be dodging with that person. And the person doesn't necessarily have to be a bad person. They could be a good person. And it could just be that person was going to drive you crazy. You were going to pour so much into that person was never going to pour back into you. That person was going to be so on edge that it would disturb your peace. That person was never going to treat you the way that God intended for you to be treated because they don't even know how to treat a woman. It could be something like you're a person whose love language is quality time. The person would never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever, ever. Why did I do that on this video though? That person would never, ever spend quality time with you, and that's your love language. Like, sometimes we don't understand why God won't let us have certain things or why he moves certain things out of our lives, but it is definitely for our benefit. If God is saying that you can't be with this person, you can't have this job, you can't have this thing, it's because he knows that if he gave it to you, it would be the thing in your mind and your fantasy. It's just this perfect thing that never makes any mistakes. It just works out so wonderfully. There's no flaws at all in it. But you forget that real life happens. You forget that this is a real human being with a real life emotions. This is a real person who you don't know if they are just good at faking it. And they really have so many things going on the inside of them that they would never be able to get close enough to you. You don't know what is happening in the background. On the outside, everybody looks good, if that's your style, if that person's your style or your taste or whatever. But just because they look good, just because their representative is good, just because they seem good, doesn't mean they are good for you. A good person does not mean good for you. A bad person does not mean good for you. That just means it's a good or a bad person. That's it. Sometimes we forget that God is really looking out for our best interest. We forget that God is really doing these things for our benefit. He's doing them because he loves us, because he cares about us, and he only wants the best for us. He doesn't just want us to settle for the bare minimum for somebody who's going to use us or, whatever else. He really wants us to be treated the way that he intended for us to be treated. Not to be treated like a piece of trash, like a piece of whatever the other equivalent to trash is. He wants us to be treated the way that he intended. And we can't have that in the type of relationship that we want. Some of the people, I'm not going to tell that story because I don't want to put that person's business on blast. And, they definitely deserve their privacy and no one will know who this person is. I just don't want to tell their story and, they end up watching this video for whatever reason and they feel some type of way. But sometimes God will not allow you to be with certain people because he knows that that person has other things that they want in their life that are not conducive to what it is that you can be. or are, if that makes any sense. And so you might not have noticed that, but God knew that. You didn't even realize that's what was happening. And God just helped you make the best decision that you could have possibly made. There there have been several situations. There have been some guys who in the past I was like, oh, I really, I would be interested in the person would be interested in me, and it just wouldn't work out. And I'd be like, this person seemed like such a good person. Why didn't this work out? And then I see him in the newspaper or something. And I'm just like, thank you, Jesus. Because, oh my gosh, can you imagine? Like, I might not be living the type of life I live today if I was with that guy. Like, I don't know if that would have made me worse. I don't know. I don't know if I would have been like trying to be ride or die or something. Like, I don't know what I would have done in that situation, especially with God not in my life. So I'm just like, thank you, God. And we really take that for granted. Sometimes we really get ungrateful and we really feel like, oh, but God, why can't I have this? It doesn't make any sense. We don't understand, but God does. God was in the room when you weren't in the room with the conversation that person had behind your back. And I don't mean it in a nasty way. I mean, like, you could be interested in this person and think they're like an angel, and they could be saying how controlling and manipulative you are or something, and you're not even that person, but they just want to seem like the angel in the conversation. I don't know. This just popped in my head. This isn't a real life scenario. I'm just saying it could be anything like this. And the whole time the person is showing you their representative, they are just pretending to be all of the things that you want, but they're not respecting you behind the scenes. And for me, I definitely want somebody who honors and respects me to my face and behind my back. I don't need them to pretend like I'm their enemy when they're around other people. I want somebody who really truly wants the best for me, wants better for me, who cares about my well being, not just only cares about looking good to other people. Not just somebody, and this is not me picking on anybody or anything like that. I'm just saying this is what I would want. So don't feel like every single thing that I say has to do with a person. It's just in general. It's like a generalized statement. And so I just, oof, sometimes I really don't know what to do in the meantime. Sometimes I'm just like, God, what do I need to be doing right here? And God's like, wait. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting. And then, I'm still working on my patience thing. So God, I'll be doing something else and I'll be like, all right, God, what do I need to do now? Wait. Then it might be like a few random things that he'll tell me to do. And he's like, okay, I just want to make sure you're still obedient. And I'm just like, okay, this makes no sense, but all right. And then next couple months or whatever, I'm like, okay, God, what would you like for me to do? I need you to go this place and do this thing that you wanted to do. And I'm like, you want me to go this place? And I'm like, maybe God's not telling me that because that's exactly what I want to do right now. I want to go there and I want to do this thing. And I end up not doing it. And then on the back end, it turns out I needed to go that place because this person was going to be there who was going to help with the business, or, it was going to be this whole thing that God was going to orchestrate. And this is the second time this has happened, because the last time God told me to go somewhere and I didn't do it, it wasn't because I was being disobedient. It was because I was like, it didn't make any sense. And I was like, maybe God wouldn't tell me to do this. So I tried to like backtrack out of it, and then come to find out it would have been something that would have helped my business. It would have helped several other women and children. But because I didn't move at that time, because I didn't do the thing that God told me to do, I missed out on a great opportunity. And not only that, but the person that I liked wanted to do the same thing that God was telling me to do. So if I had waited, if that person had been a part of my life the way that God wanted them to be a part of my life, and we could have helped each other, whatever that means, then maybe that could have been the thing that helped that person start the thing that they wanted to start. that ended up being the thing that I was going to be in anyways. Now, two people have missed out on an opportunity because one person didn't move forward. And it's like Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts said in her one sermon, sometimes we think that when we don't do something that God wants us to do, that it's just us who's affected by it. But really that little girl, that other person, the other person in the business, the other person who, is trying to pray to God for a solution, a way to do something else in life, a way to help other people. They want to do something that is impactful. They want to do something that helps other people or whatever else. They have this dream, they have this purpose, and God can't give them what they're praying for until you move. Mm, 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 mm. You are holding up the whole process because you're thinking that it only affected you, but it's not only affecting you, it's affecting other people in the area because you don't know how many people you're going to impact. It's impacting other women, maybe. It's impacting generations to come because not only could you have stopped what was happening with you and maybe other people who are strangers or, women and children or whatever else, but you could have also changed the way the next generation and generations to come saw how to deal with this type of situation, what they should be dealing with, believing in, all of the things that they should be doing in their life. So, in conclusion, I know this was like a whole circle because I did a lot of talking and didn't know it was going to be this long, and I got to be up in like 4 hours because I got an appointed time that I set with God because I told him that while I was doing Lent, I was going to wake up and do all of the things that he needed for me to do. I was going to be intentional, and I was just going to be obedient. I want to make sure that if God says, hey, we need to meet at this time every day, I'm meeting with God at that time every day because I don't know, I don't want to miss anything. I told you I'm in my waiting season. God might say, all right, you got 4 hours of sleep, but I need you to go such and such place. I can go such and such place and literally meet my husband. Why I sound like the rest of the single women? But no, I'm not getting on single women. You guys are great, and I think you're doing an amazing job. I'm just saying, like, how that's how like most of those stories are that I hear. They're like, they're like, it's funny because it's true, but I'm really not saying it like I'm trying to make somebody feel some type of way. I think it's hilarious when we like think of these ideas in our head of like what could actually be, and we don't know what's gonna happen. Like God has so many other plans. We don't know what time or place it's gonna be. All I know is as long as I'm being obedient, I'm serving in my purpose. I really truly feel in my soul that me serving in my purpose is going to introduce me into the person that I'm supposed to be with. It's going to like create an opportunity is what I should say. Cuz yeah, just keep that to myself. But that is what will do it. And it's so funny because most people like you for being you anyways. When you're trying to pretend to be somebody else and prove to somebody else that you're something when you're already a decent human being, it's like, why are you doing all of that? I'm that type of person that does like the most for no reason when I'm already an okay person. And I say okay because I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. And like I'm just a human being like everybody else. Do I strive to be better every day? Yes. Am I always willing to be obedient to God and listen to what it is that He has to say? Most of the time, yes. That's just me being real. Sometimes I just need clarification, and I'm just like, I don't know if God really wants me to do that because I like deep down don't want to do it, or deep down I have other things that I really would like. And then here's the funny thing. Most of the time when you're obedient to God, He gives you what you want anyways. What you desired. And so you're thinking, "Oh, I'm going to miss out on this thing if I don't do this my way." And the whole time if you're obedient to God, He was going to give it to you. You just needed to be obedient, and it would have been better. And it would have been more. So now you got this lesser version of what God could have already given you anyways. You know? So I know this has been a long video, and I appreciate you watching until it is almost an hour long video. And by the time I stop, it probably will be exactly an hour or something. I don't know. I can't call that and really say it's gonna be exactly an hour, but you know what I'm saying. So in conclusion, in the meantime, stay focused on God, because God is in control of everything anyways. He is the one who is the beginning and the end. So while we spend all of this time trying to do all of these other things, there's nothing that we can do to change what God has already set in place, what God already wants for our life. And if you go and you run off and do your own thing and you just try to do things your way, I promise you, it's not going to work out the way that God could have had it happen. Now you got all of this heartbreak. You and the person you're supposed to be with have to go on a year-long break so that you can learn your lesson that you should have learned the first time. Now instead of you guys just, being together, working everything out, now you got to have this weird, like, not off and on thing, but this thing where every time it seems like y'all are about to, connect or something, it just doesn't happen. And I'm not saying you ruin your opportunity. I'm just saying that when God is telling you to wait, wait. When God is telling you to move, move. You need to just be ready. Just ready to do whatever it is that God intended for you to do. And in the meantime, just keep praying. Keep staying focused on God. Fast if you need to. Do the things that God intends for you to do. Be serving in your purpose. Because it could get real. I don't want to say boring. It's not boring. It's different because we're so used to chaos and we're so used to all the drama and all of the things that happen in life, when you're living worldly. But when you're living in the presence of God, usually it's just peace. And it just seems like, oh, there's no action happening because life isn't supposed to be a movie. It's supposed to be real life. It's supposed to be, things happen, like real life things happen. But it's not just, oh, it's so like you got to just be dramatized all day long, 24/7. Like it's, whatever. But stay focused on God. Allow Him to use you. Be in your purpose. I'm getting so tired. I'm about to get off though. Stay focused in your purpose. Do the things that you know that God intends for you to do. Make sure that because it is boring, make sure that you don't go seeking action. You don't go being with that person you know you're not supposed to be with. You don't go taking that job that you know you're not supposed to be in. You're not trying to seek that thing that God told you that you do not need to have. Just because nothing's happening right now does not mean you need to just go and do your own thing. You still should be obedient to God. You still should be focused on God because God's plan works out way better than any plan that we could ever come up with. There's not enough strategies. There is not enough chess moves that we could play in this life for us to prepare for what it is that God has for us. The only way we could get prepared is by praying, by staying in our word, staying focused on God, being obedient, being better than we were yesterday, and knowing that no matter what happens, I'm going to be faithful. No matter what happens, everything is going to work out the way that God intended. Don't let anything in the world distract you from what God put on the inside of you, because somebody else is waiting on you. They're waiting on you to step into your purpose so that not only will God be blessing you, but you could bless everyone else. And I don't mean everyone in the world. I just mean when God blesses you, usually it's for you to bless other people. And then those people are blessing other people. And those people are blessing other people if we're doing what we need to be doing. So in turn, God blessing you is blessing everybody. Everybody around you got blessed. Blessings on blessings on blessings. So while you're waiting, in the meantime, don't lose faith. Do not. grow weary in well doing.